Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Right, the WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman has spoken to Sky Sports, and he has said that he will not be moving the mandated WBC World Heavyweight Title shot for Dillian Whyte from February 2021 to an earlier date, even if Deontay Wilder is injured and can't fulfill his obligated contractual fight with Tyson Fury, which of course Deontay Wilder activated himself. So he is refusing to do that. Now, that's no surprise. Mauricio Sulaiman has never once done any kind of favour for Dillian Whyte. If anything, he has been the one that has been holding Dillian Whyte's world title shot back. And we're talking WBC. This is the belt that Dillian Whyte has always wanted to fight for. This is the belt that ever since, even before the Robert Helenius fight, I think it was, where he's been paying sanction fee after sanction fee after sanction fee. And he hasn't got his world title shot yet. Yet plenty of people who have fought for the world title, the WBC, have never paid a sanction fee. Tyson Fury has never once paid a sanction fee towards the WBC. Yet he's had 2 cracks so far at the belt. And of course, he's now champion, so big up Tyson Fury for being champion. Luis Ortiz, he's had 2 cracks at it too. Never once paid a sanction fee. Don Brazil, never paid a sanction fee. Artur Szpilka, never paid a sanction fee. Chris Arreola, Johan Duapa, never paid a sanction fee. Bermane Stiverne paid 1 sanction fee, but yet he had 2 fights at the WBC. So Dillian Whyte, who has, isn't getting a world title shot. Now, we can look at it and we can say, but this whole situation of Dillian Whyte fighting for the belt in February 2021 is all Mauricio Sulaiman's fault, isn't it? It's all his fault. At the end of the day, he's the president. So even if other people are conspiring underneath him and he doesn't know about it, he still has to be held accountable because he's the boss man, right? He's the one. So with Dillian Whyte fighting for the world title in February 2021, it should have been May. It should have been this month, right now. Dillian Whyte should have been fighting for the WBC World Heavyweight Title. Now, of course, it wouldn't have taken place anyway due to the whole epidemic or anything, but the next fight for Dillian Whyte should be for the WBC Heavyweight World Title. But when Dillian Whyte, he fought Oscar Rivas a few days beforehand, there was an adverse finding with UKAD, wasn't there, over a sample? Even though it was later proven that Dillian Whyte had done nothing wrong. So his original contracted date, should he have defeated Oscar Rivas, even though he was clear to fight Oscar Rivas, was May, this month right now. But because everything come out in public, which by the way, anything that happens in UKAD is supposed to be behind closed doors, not supposed to be leaked until the final resolution is in place. But somehow it got leaked out to the public. Thomas Hauser found out about it, didn't he? How did he find out about it? Who knows? Who knows, right? But the thing is that the WBC moved Dillian Whyte from May of this year, right now, until February 2021 of next year. Why would they do that? Well, because they made Tyson Fury mandatory for when he fought Deontay Wilder, even though he'd already signed to fight Deontay Wilder. He'd already signed to fight Deontay Wilder. Even Fury said, why do I want it to be mandatory for? I've already got a fight with him. What do I need that for? But they made him mandatory for his fight against Wilder, which of course took place in February of this year. But that means that the next mandatory obligation won't be for 12 months until after that fight, which will be February 2021. Okay, that's when Dillian Whyte's doing it. So why would they change it from May to February? Why would they want to make Tyson Fury mandatory? Why would they want to change the date? Because Dillian Whyte fighting for the world title in May interferes with a Fury-Wilder Part 3, doesn't it? Part 2 happens in February. Part 3 happens a little later in the year. What they don't want is Dillian Whyte interfering, do they? Was it coincidental that Dillian Whyte had an adverse finding with UKAD? Was it? UKAD, who are employed by the British Boxing Board of Control. Who's the chairman of British Boxing Board of Control? Charlie Giles. What's Charlie Giles' other role? Vice President for the WBC. Who mandated Tyson Fury to be the mandatory? Who petitioned for it? Charlie Giles. Now, I'm not saying Charlie Giles has done anything wrong. Not at all. Far from it. But what I am saying is somebody should at least ask him questions. In yesterday's video, I said that I did invite him for a podcast on this channel to answer some questions. and he just point blank refused. So, you know what? What's he hiding? Is he hiding anything? Maybe he's not. I don't know. So, is it coincidental? Is it a case of, well, they didn't want Dillian Whyte interfering with Wilder Part 2 and Wilder Fury Part 3? They didn't want anything interfering. So, was Dillian Whyte sabotaged? Maybe. People want to say how Dillian Whyte, well, he had his opportunity. He should have fought Luis Ortiz. But again, this was for the secondary mandatory, not mandatory. Get this through your head, those who are still saying that. Get it through your fucking head. It was not for the mandatory, secondary mandatory. You do understand what that means, right? I shouldn't have to explain it. Secondary mandatory. But regardless, Dillian Whyte, he did turn it down. Okay, then let's give him a little cross against his name for that one. Should that excuse Dillian Whyte not getting any kind of world title fight? Should it? When Tyson Fury, he refused to have the immediate rematch against Deontay Wilder that WBC ordered. You guys remember that, right? He refused to do it and went and fought Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallen instead. So shouldn't he have like a little cross against his name with the WBC? Shouldn't he also have another cross against his name when Tyson Fury refused to fight Dillian Whyte for the WBC Diamond Belt? He refused it, even though he asked for it originally. But he then pulled out again. So if Tyson Fury is refusing to do what the WBC is saying, then why is it that he still got a mandatory position without ever having to fight for a final eliminator when Dillian Whyte's been paying sanctioning fee after sanctioning fee after sanctioning fee? People want to say, well, maybe Dillian Whyte should have fought Dominic Breazeale. Yeah, I agree with that one. And I was trying to push for that fight. I was trying to. But you know why that fight never happened? Well, first of all, the fight, it was eventually mandated that Dominic Breazeale would defend his mandatory position, even though he should never have been mandatory because he was never number one. Dillian Whyte always was. But he was given the mandatory position by defeating Eric Bloody Molina, of all fucking people. So eventually they ordered it because they thought Fury Wilder Part 2 was going to happen straight away. So they ordered Breazeale versus Dillian Whyte. Dominic Breazeale pulled out of that fight to go fight Wilder after Tyson Fury refused a rematch. So again, that's not Dillian Whyte's fault. But I have been saying that they should have made Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale long before then. But Eddie Hearn, again, it's on this channel. I asked him, face to face, why don't you make Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale? He didn't want to do it. Again, it's here on the channel. There's the evidence. He didn't want to do it because it didn't make the kind of money that he wanted to make. Because people weren't interested in Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale. They were interested in Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora Part 2. And he kept mentioning the casual fan base wanted to see it. So again, money was more important than Dillian Whyte's career. So again, that's not Dillian Whyte's fault. I mean, arguably, you could say that maybe Dillian Whyte, he should have said to Eddie Hearn, no, you're making that fight. No damn excuses, that's the fight you're making. He could have put his foot down, for sure, if we're going to be fair about it. So, Dillian Whyte, okay, he turns down a fight with Anthony Joshua. Okay. Even though he was offered less money than what Andy Ruiz Jr. got, less money than what Jarrell Miller would have got, less money than what Luis Ortiz would have got to take on Anthony Joshua. Even though Dillian Whyte is a pay-per-view fighter. But again, Anthony Joshua, not WBC Heavyweight World Champion. Dillian Whyte wants to go fight for the WBC World Title, win that belt, and then go fight Joshua for Undisputed. Dillian Whyte don't give a monkeys. He don't care less about Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury Undisputed. Why would he care? He wants to be the one to go fight for Undisputed. He's the one who's been paying the sanction fees. He's the one who's been earning the title shot. So Mauricio Sulaiman saying how he's not going to change it from February to move it forward, even if Deontay Wilder's injured, well, it should never have been moved to February in the first place. Because Dillian Whyte did nothing wrong with UCAT, so he should still have his date right now. But the WBC don't want to do that. Charlie Giles clearly didn't want to do that. Mauricio Sulaiman clearly didn't want to do that. Because they want to allow Wilder Fury Part 3, because the PBC, who pretty much, well, by the looks of it, control the WBC. Do they not? Isn't there a huge favouritism there? Haven't WBC Mauricio Sulaiman been wrapping Deontay Wilder in cotton wool, allowing him to go 5 years and only having 2 mandatory positions? Officially, it was 3 in the end after 5 years and 2 months when he's supposed to have 1 every year. But he had his third one against Tyson Fury, who should never have been a mandatory. And that's the truth. Fury never once fought for a final eliminator. Never once did. But they did it just so they can get Wilder Fury Part 2 and then Part 3 without Dillian Whyte interfering beforehand. So Mauricio Sulaiman, you fucking slug. You messed up Dillian Whyte. You did that. Right now, very simple. Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury, two Brits who are, what? There's no international clearance needed. They can have the fight here, even behind closed doors. It'll do very well with the pay-per-view. But, of course, come February time, if Tyson Fury has already fought Deontay Wilder before then, if the international borders are open, if he has fought him and he defeats Deontay Wilder, they're going to make Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua, if, of course, Anthony Joshua gets past Kubrat Pulev. So Dillian Whyte still won't get his world title shot in February. But, of course, Dillian Whyte, he can do something about that, which will follow up in the next video. But anyway, drop your thoughts below about it. Click thumbs up. Subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.